Hey guys, welcome to Newswave Week in Review. What we're going to do today is go through the previous week of Newswave topics, pick out some comments, and kind of discuss them. Now, if you missed any of the episodes of Newswave, this should at least get you caught up for some of the bigger topics of the week throughout video game news. Definitely make sure you're leaving comments on the videos as we go throughout the week, because it may be picked for today when we go through them. It's going to be a lot of fun, so at this point, let's get into it. On Monday, we talked about the Switch version of Dragon Quest XI being based around Unreal Engine 4. This gave us some insight to the development of the Switch version, which has been kept fairly quiet since its original announcement last year. Many think the Switch version might be based off the 3DS version after seeing games like Monster Hunter Double Cross get ported from the 3DS to the Switch by Capcom. With the announcement of Unreal Engine 4 being used, this pretty much eliminates the possibility of a straight-up 3DS port job. Diet Dre says, to be fair, Monster Hunter Double Cross on the Switch is a port of the 3DS game, while PS4 is getting Monster Hunter World, so Dragon Quest XI Switch being the 3DS version was not outside the realm of possibility. Now this is correct, as some were assuming that because of what Capcom did and a lack of any type of confirmation from Square, it was anyone's guess until some sort of confirmation was announced. Fortunately, we can now move on from that point going forward. Nicholas Marr says, I'm thinking Dragon Quest XI will be a custom version for the Switch. They marketed the 3DS and PS4 as the same game, but with a unique spin based on the hardware they live on to make both desirable. A third unique Switch version that plays to the strength of the Switch hardware would be more welcome in my eyes than a drop in quality from the PS4 version. I actually agree that a more customized version will be better than a scaled back PS4 version. I think people desperately want the Switch to play the exact same games as the PS4 and Xbox One, that they can lose sight of a custom version being overall better for the experience. Even if they took a different art style and used the Joy-Cons or even the touchscreen for different effects in game, it would only add to the experience rather than just trying to stuff the same PS4 version onto the Switch. On Tuesday, we talked about the backlash for Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot boxes that had gamers crying foul throughout the beta. Loot boxes have started popping up in fully priced AAA games, and many gamers are frustrated that artificial grinding has been added to seemingly push them towards spending more money on in-game loot boxes. This has by far been the hottest topic this week, and I don't expect the controversy to go away anytime soon since these loot boxes are present in most of the big name holiday games. Strip of Paper had a really good comment saying, I think an important conversation to have is, are we ready for the end of $60 games? Because the mass proliferation, yes, DLC has always existed. I'm talking about the glut of these offerings of DLC, microtransactions, loot boxes exist to subsidize high development costs that aren't recuperated from a $6 price tag anymore. It worked in the mid-2000s, but it's becoming obvious that it's not enough for studios in the 2010s going forward. Now, there are definitely arguments on both sides here about if $60 at a retail is enough for the game developers. See, when you go through retail, money is shaved off at every step for the developers. Most times, when it's all accounted for, they're getting back around $45 per game, not the full $60. I think these game companies would absolutely love to raise the price to $70 at retail to help their bottom line. However, there are some with the argument that these companies already make plenty of money and don't actually need more. I will say this, if money was that good for these companies, we wouldn't see games disappear despite millions of copies. It's obvious these AAA games cost a lot of money to make, and while I cannot tell you the actual numbers on their balance sheet, there has to be a reason that they are pursuing loot boxes and season passes and DLC so vigorously, other than the corporate greed argument that I see everywhere. It's no secret that mobile games are significantly more profitable than your favorite AAA game, and I believe at this point these big developers want a piece of the action without moving to mobile. It's a weird situation for sure, but I don't think anyone knows a clear-cut answer at this point. I can say I would prefer a game for a straight-up price with all-included content and not have to worry about being nickeled and dimed down the road, even if that means it's a $70 price tag. On Wednesday, we talked about Nintendo hitting a 9-year high on the stock market, as well as the Szechuan sauce debacle with McDonald's and Rick and Morty fans. Nintendo stock has been on the rise since massive speculation has been made about a possible release in China. Several places, such as the Wall Street Journal, have linked the recent partnership with Tencent to make the Switch more appealing to the Chinese audience. The recent limited edition release of the Szechuan sauce caused riots at several McDonald's when hundreds of people lined up only to find that 20 packets of sauce were provided per store, and some did not receive sauce at all. This has driven several fans to resort to buying sauce for hundreds of dollars from people on eBay. EC Gaming says, it's just a sauce in a fast food restaurant. That cartoon is great, but it's too much. This is correct that too much was made of this sauce. However, I think it's pretty clear that those lines were not just full of fans. After seeing how many sauce packets appeared online for hundreds of dollars, it's pretty clear that several resellers showed up to snag sauce packets in an attempt to make some money from a very devoted fan base. It's worth noting that McDonald's has put out a statement saying a massive number of sauce packets are coming to stores this holiday, so stop buying from these scalpers online, please. Thursday, we talked about Mario Odyssey getting a perfect score from Edge magazine, a 10 out of 10, and Razer is teasing an entry into the cell phone market. Now, I went through the comments and saw a lot of people talking about how sites such as IGN or people like Jim Sterling will give Mario Odyssey a low score to stand out. This has pretty much made me realize that the amount of stock people hold in review scores and really touches on why I think review scores make no sense in the first place. Without getting on too much of a tangent, I believe review scores will never be absolutely concrete, as we all interpret the scale differently. One person sees a 7 out of 10 as average, while others see it as bottom of the scale. Realistically, a review should just cover the pros and cons, allowing the gamer to come to a conclusion on their own. But I think a lot of us get caught up in the number at the end of the video or at the bottom of the article without coming to our own conclusions. If someone like Jim Sterling wants to give Breath of the Wild a 7 out of 10 based on his personal scale, that's fine because his scale is probably different from yours. I think review scores should pretty much be thrown out since they have proven to be pointless and just aid in fanboy wars. And finally, on Friday, we talked about Epic suing cheaters who are distributing an aimbot, as well as videos of people speedrunning Mario Odyssey demo units. Epic has decided to pursue legal charges against two creators of a popular aimbot for Fortnite, which has recently entered the limelight after employing similar gameplay mechanics to the overwhelmingly popular PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. Epic appears ready to protect their latest creation by any means necessary. In stores around the world, Mario Odyssey demo units are out there that allow you to play a limited amount of time in the desert world. Several people are currently recording themselves completing the demo as fast as possible, with many getting close to the 6-minute mark at this time. Ash May FTW says, also, the fact that Mario Odyssey is already getting speedruns speaks volumes as to not only how good the game controls, but how it's made for the gamer mind. I mentioned in my last video about my time with Mario Odyssey that the game itself controlled really well. Everything was extremely responsive, and the 60 frames per second really adds to the controller input. The fact that people are able to grab onto the mechanics of the game and start speedrunning a week after demo units pop up in stores is a testament to the controller input of the game. The controls were the big thing I was concerned about before playing it, since I knew the content would be enough to justify the price tag, and I'm happy that the controls will not get in the way of the experience. And that will do it for Newswave Week in Review. I like doing these to go back because I end up going through all the comments, and there are some good ones in there. Generally, I try to pick a few. I think going forward for these, I'm going to start picking more as we go along, and I get kind of the format down and figured out and everything because I'm still playing around with it. I would eventually also like to schedule this for you guys, since Newswave is scheduled at 8 a.m. Eastern every weekday morning. I'd like to get this episode set up well for Saturday, whether it's in the morning or afternoon, somewhere in there. I'll figure it out though with my schedule, and that way I'll let you guys know, and you know when it'll pop up, so you don't have to be kind of figuring out on your own when it shows up. You can also hit the bell down below with the subscribe button to get notified whenever this happens. Also, definitely check out later on tonight because we will have the Spawncast going on 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be live, and then if you are a patron member, you can view the entire thing, or you can check out on SoundCloud and listen to the entire audio of it. Thanks so much for joining me today on Saturday, guys. I'll see you next time.